Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Okay, I'm going to shut this off right now. Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing this evening?
Hello.
Matt Bove, Dom Tibbetts here. Do I get to scoot a little that way? Okay, I want to make sure that the preseason, leading the charge preseason shows up.
That bad?
No. Well, it's probably because I just took my shoes off. I don't want you to have to smell my feet. So, yeah, we're sitting here in the studio, obviously talking about how we smell. That's really great. We're getting ready for Leading the Charge. It starts in just a tad over 3 minutes. We will, of course, answer all of your questions as we do every single week. Just for those of you who are already watching, we already got almost 1,000 people watching, which is pretty crazy. So we'll answer your questions. Our normal format for the next couple weeks will be this half an hour format from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. Once the regular season begins, and then once the regular season begins, it'll be an hour. So it'll be a half an hour.
Monday after the Ravens opener.
Yeah, right. So the Monday after the Ravens opener, it'll be a half an hour with the whole show will be online. Like it's an hour-long show.
Yeah.
First half an hour will be on TV exclusively. The second half hour will be on TV and on the website as it is right now. So we're just kind of getting the kinks out a little bit, getting back into the groove.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is,
it's our first time doing it in a while.
It's what we did in the offseason, the last 30 minutes. Yeah, because we were just kind of alternating our hosting responsibilities, bringing our friends in from around the beat and stuff to come in and talk. So
yeah, it feels weird. It feels weird to be back doing it together because last week I was just kind of sitting here by myself. And then a week before, we were still running all of our 52 years of Fandemonium, which are, by the way, all available online, WKBW.com. So you can watch all of those. They're fantastic.
I was in training camp. It was just crazy that we were in Rochester like a week ago.
Yeah, that's a week ago today. We were getting ready for the final couple days in Rochester. You were there. You were there without me for those 2 days, Sunday
which, ironically, that day before was the day James Cook
Cook. And I think that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today because it's kind of a crazy trajectory of last Sunday you're at training camp. All of a sudden he's not practicing. Doesn't practice for a couple days. Then McDermott tells us the last time we talked to him that he expects him out at practice. He doesn't come out to practice. They come back to Buffalo. They have a preseason game. Now he's on the field for warm-ups.
In full uniform.
You shoot the video on the sideline before the game. I'm scrolling on my phone and going like, what the heck is going on? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden, the game starts. He runs out of the tunnel without a helmet. And I'm like, okay, so what's he going to do? And then McDermott says after the game, like, we want him to play, but he only agreed to do it's just kind of crazy. It's been all over the place.
It's weird. It is a very fluid situation. That's what I think we've learned over the last week and a half. And it's going to continue to be fluid, and it's going to continue to be something we're probably going to talk about for the next couple of weeks at least.
All right, we got 1,100 people currently in the stream. Control room, if you can hear me, what is our goal to hit tonight? Because 2,000 feels like we're going to pass that. So what's a number? Are Michelle and Julia going to contribute with the guesses here?
Maybe, if it's over.
2,500 is my goal for the night.
Awesome.
So, you said 30 seconds away. I was like, 30 viewers, man. We stink.
I'll go 3,000. Exactly. Let's be optimistic.
2,500 for Michelle. I like that. All right, we got 20 seconds away. We're going to introduce ourselves on television, if that is where you're watching, and we will start to answer your questions. Pretty good. Happy Leading the Charge Day to all of those who celebrate. What's going on, everyone? Matt Bove, Dom Tibbetts here, getting ready for the Buffalo Bills regular season. A month from now, we will be sitting here, talking about whether or not the Bills are 1-0 or 0-1. How crazy is that? Less than a month away from Bills football.
I go back to like 2.5 weeks ago when training camp started at Fisher, and now we're done with that Rochester portion. How quickly time has flown. I know it'll be here before, but it doesn't even feel like we're comprehending the fact that we're still in training camp. Everything is going by just so egregiously fast.
Yeah, so we've got preseason game in the books. They played their preseason game on Saturday against the New York Giants. We're going to talk about that a little bit, some of the players that have impressed us. But I think the biggest story, at least to talk about right now, is the entire James Cook saga, because when we got to training camp in Rochester, it felt like it wasn't going to be a story because he was out on the field for the first day of practice. And then a couple weeks go by, and then all of a sudden he's not on the field and he's holding in. And then we get to the game on Saturday, and here is some of Dom's video. He's out there warming up before the game. So, I mean, at this point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe the holding's done. Maybe he was just waiting for the preseason.
I thought the same thing.
Right? You're like, okay, maybe he's going to even play in the game, because it's not ridiculous to think that, because he was taking warm-up snaps, even with the 11-on-11 drills, at least a couple of them. So then it was like, okay, is this guy ultimately going to go out there and play?
Yeah.
Well, then they come out of the tunnel for the game itself. He does not have his helmet, which is usually a telltale sign, like, okay, he's not going to play. And then Sean McDermott, the Bills head coach, addressed what happened after the game. So here's a little bit of what Sean McDermott had to say.
Had a good conversation yesterday. We talked about warming up. He agreed to warm up, but not play due to his situation right now. So we wanted him to play. I wanted him to play, but I don't really want to go into it any further. There's really no change at this point in time from what it was going into this weekend and the game today. So, he warmed up, like I said, but at this point, due to his situation and the position he's in, was not willing to play. So that's where we're at. Again, it was a good conversation, but really no change overall.
All right, so that was Sean McDermott. How do you feel about the entire situation? It keeps going kind of all over the place.
The thing is like, the hold-ins or holdouts are not uncommon in the NFL. It happens. I mean, the big one, obviously, around the NFL is the whole Micah Parsons situation going on in Dallas. But it was just, the premise of this is weird. You go through the first, 8 practices. You have James Cook out there. He says, hey, I like my money. That was one thing we heard even before training camp started. I like my money. I don't want these fines. I'm going to go out there and kind of show face, be around the team. And I thought that was good for James. I actually thought he was making his case better of showing the ultimate team guy mentality, still being out there. Guys were really supportive of him. QB1, Josh Allen, one of those guys. Yeah. And then you get to last Sunday, and then all of a sudden the holding starts. He tells our friends that, like, hey, it's a business decision. Why are you going to practice tomorrow? No, business decision. Then you get to the preseason game. That shot of when James ran out there, which we didn't know was going to happen. True story is Josh Allen was running out onto the field. So I'm getting a shot of him because you're not going to see much of him in this game. Yeah, okay. And then James Cook kind of sneakily goes behind him. I'm like, wait a minute. James Cook is in a full uniform. And then obviously things progress. He sits, helmet off, goes through whatever. It's a situation where I don't think James is helping himself at this point. I think right now the Bills continue to have all the leverage in whatever this ongoing contract negotiation is between him and his representatives. But he's just, if you're going to hold out, do that before minicamp. Don't do it 8 days in and then start there, because then it's just all of a sudden it's going to start kicking the other narrative away that you've built this good PR about yourself. And now we're dealing with the fact that who knows if we see him in the preseason. And in a month from now, you mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to be kicking off against the Ravens, the week 1 opener. We don't even know. There's so much uncertainty if we're going to be seeing him there.
He's got to play. Like, he's going to, right? Right. I mean, he didn't want to take the fine for missing minicamp. He's not taking the fine for missing an actual regular season game. At least I don't think. And what you said perfectly connects to what Nate commented here. I'm actually more concerned for him. He isn't getting great advice, and I'm worried he will be negatively impacted by his agent's strategy. It feels like this is a little bit too all over the place. It feels like either you're holding in or you're not holding in. You're not doing both. It feels like it's a little bit of trying to have your cake and eat it too. Maybe it was a sign of good faith of, hey, I'm going to show up. But this blindsided the Bills. This was not something that they were ready for. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you with a lot of confidence, I don't think Brandon Beane appreciates being blindsided by this news. There is nobody denying that James Cook deserves some sort of raise. Yes. I don't think anybody would deny that. It's, does he deserve enough of a raise that he wants, right? How much money is he ultimately asking for? Is it closer to the Kyron Williams deal we saw last week, $12 million? Or is it that $15 million that got floated out there? Like, if that's what he wants, the Bills aren't budget. He's not getting a new contract. And then, absolutely this one's from Brian. He said, cool. Cook will sign just before the season opener and be ready for game 1. So that's his take.
He might not, but to your point, he might not even sign, though. He just might have to be, he might have to play just because he doesn't want to get a fine racked up.
Then that's what Jim says. Bills are in the driver's seat. Let him sit out. I don't think he's risking the loss of a game check. And I also don't think he has the leverage to drag this into the start of the regular season. I just don't think he does, because then his other comment from Jim, I'm excited for Davis, Johnson, and Gore if Cook sits out. Like, if James Cook isn't available, next man up, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. They got a lot of really strong options back there.
Josh Allen says Ty Johnson, best third down back in the league. That's his quarterback, right? But Ray has proven that he's a versatile playmaker. Frank Gore had a couple nice runs in the second half of that preseason game. There are certainly pieces there. The motor with what I think hurts James's case here is you look at the Bills offense, the motor, the guy who leads it is Josh Allen. That guy also runs the ball a lot too. So like your offense is always going to be driven in the run game by a guy like James Cook. But if he's not available, you're going to have Josh Allen. You're going to have Ray Davis. You're going to have Ty, Frank, Garrington Evans, whoever may be suiting up on this roster, right? You just don't know at this point. I also wonder too, like the Bills are blindsided for sure. Brandon Beane has not had to deal with this Holden situation ever. I mean, a couple of years ago, Jordan Poyer, it's very similar to Jordan Poyer's
a little
situation,
bit. The Bills,
but Poyer was there. I remember Drew Rosenhaus's agent was at training camp a few days to get this done. So this is a totally new thing for Brandon Beane. I wonder, though, him suiting up in a full jersey, full uniform, ready to go in that preseason game, I wonder if his agent was blindsided by that too, because I'm sure his agent wants him to just continue to hold in as much as possible. But then all of a sudden you're starting to tease the fact you're out there playing a game. That's his conversation with Sean McDermott. It's what the two agreed on. So I agree. I think he's getting, with whoever made the first comment, he's getting pulled in a bunch of different directions right now, and it's really not helping anybody.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great comments to us on X right now. They're not going to show up on the screen. Somebody says we're deep at running back, trade him for a decent safety. Unless it's September 7th, they're not concerned. He's minimizing the risk of injury while negotiating. This isn't rocket science. It's correct strategy. I'm more worried about Alex Tuck right now, which I think is actually a pretty funny comment right there. So obviously, and then that goes back to somebody brought up the trade option. Joe says, is Cook a trade possibility? I don't think so. I just don't think his value would be super high because he was going to want a contract anywhere. And I even feel like with this situation, there's probably a little bit of a hometown discount. And it's not because of the Bills. It's because of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And because he knows how good the offense is and he knows how good the team is. So if he gets traded to a kind of crummy team, I don't think he's going to still be like, oh, I want $12 or $13 million.
Right.
He's going to be like, I want $14 or $15 million because I'm going to be a bigger piece of your offense. But then that connects to what Lori said. I love how this all kind of is lining up perfectly. Cook was good for 2 years and great for one, not yet worth $15 million. James Cook had 4 rushing touchdowns in his first 2 seasons combined, and then he jumped to 16, which is obviously wild. This is when he wants a ton of money because his value is probably never going to be higher. It's very realistic to think that he could have a bit of touchdown regression.
But you've also, I think James Cook's just out-leveraged himself. I mean, this offseason, you immediately go to that $15 million number. And something tells me James Cook and his agents have started to I think when they saw the Kyren Williams deal pop out last week, they were like, that's our target.
Yeah,
that is somewhere in the wheelhouse because now you're exceeding numbers that some of the top backs in the league get.
James Cook, I think, is a better running back than Kyren Williams. I truly do think that. That said, Kyren Williams does way more for his offense than James Cook does for the Bills' offense. James Cook plays just under 50% of snaps. Kyren Williams plays 87% of offensive snaps. Besides the quarterback and your starting offensive line, that is higher than anybody. That might be higher than Puka Nacua, which is crazy.
I'll tell you what, great running back too on my fantasy football team.
Kyren Williams, very solid. So I feel like that should obviously be the target. Okay, we have spent the first 10 minutes of the show talking about James Cook. And obviously we could probably spend the entire show talking about James Cook, but we don't necessarily want to do that. So if you were watching on the stream, don't go anywhere. We are going to continue to have this conversation during the commercial break. If you're watching on TV, we'll be back in a couple minutes. Make sure to send your comments, though, if you're watching on the stream. We'll talk to you guys in a couple minutes. All right, 1,600 people.
All right. I'm going for 3,000.
Mike, hello, men. Can we give him a bump in this year's salary via signing bonus to ensure he will be in a better headspace? Yeah, Mike, that's a great question. That's a little bit like what they did with Jordan Poyer, where they gave him just a couple extra $1 million.
Yeah.
We say that so casually. A couple extra $1 million. Couple $1 million to kind of.
With it was like the 2-year extension with I think he had the player option after one or whatever it was.
They could do that, but I don't know if
I think if the Bills want to get this done too, though, Jordan Poyer, a much different situation. He's an older, aging defensive back or safety at that point, too. James Cook is still trending into the prime of his career. So if you're the Bills, I feel like if you can find a way to get the number correct, you're going to want a longer-term deal, and I think they're smart to do that.
This is from Daniel. I'm sick and tired of hearing about this. Someone make a decision. Daniel, you and me both, buddy, because I was downstairs this morning. I'm a little bit too connected to my phone. I have my phone with me kind of all the time.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like, okay, you're the job. You want to be connected. You don't want to miss anything. This morning, I was down in my basement working out, and I really wasn't paying any attention to my phone. And every time I'm not on my phone for an hour or so, I pick up my phone going, am I going to see the Adam Schefter Buffalo Bills have agreed to 4-year contract with James Cook for something? So it's a little bit, concerning with this. Cook's snap count goes down every day he holds in. That's from Steven. I don't disagree with that.
No, I mean, Sean McDermott said it. He's like, if James isn't going to be there, that's, he's supportive. That's his decision. But as an offense, they have to continue moving forward. And Sean McDermott has said they're going to move forward with the guys who are going to be there, the guys who want to be here. After the preseason game, you were in that press conference room with me. Sean answered maybe 1.5 questions about James Cook before he finally was like, I don't need to talk about this anymore. I want to talk about the guys who actually played today, who wanted to be here. So I think there is frustration starting to show on Sean McDermott's side for sure. And I'm sure it's just mounting up for the Bills and the fact that at this moment they're trying to keep the relationship good enough to where they can work with Cook's agents and representatives. But I think it's starting to also get to a tipping point too, where the Bills are just feeling the ultimate frustration.
Stephen, good question. How close is Curtis Samuel to being healthy? We need him healthy to trade that anchor of a contract so that someone that deserves to be on the 53-man roster doesn't get cut. I think we see Curtis Samuel tomorrow morning to practice.
A little bit. That's what Sean kind of hinted to that after.
A hunch. I think Curtis Samuel and Cole Bishop, the two probably most notable guys who have been out. I mean, Khalil Shakir is the most notable. I don't think we'll see him until maybe week 1 where they're getting ready for the Ravens game.
Right.
But look at this from Mike Catalana. You guys are the best. Oh, that's very kind of him.
Takes one to know one, Mike.
Let's see. All right. We've got a bunch more questions. We are going to be coming back on TV in 10 seconds. So we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to our TV friends who are watching on the traditional television setting. If you're watching on the stream, we didn't really go anywhere. We were just talking about how we are the best, according to Mike Catalana, which is really, really cool.
That's a reliable source.
What do you think he's talking about, me or you? Who's the best? You got best hair, obviously. Yeah. It's not even a competition. Here, Rob Chase. Barkley, Henry, McCaffrey mean more for their team. Cook doesn't understand that it's Josh Allen's team.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with what I was saying a little bit earlier.
Right? It's like, I think we all agree James Cook is a very good running back. Is he a top 5 running back? I don't think at all.
I'll question to you kind of off Rob's point because I like this. James Cook does not play another down for the Buffalo Bills, plus or minus wins.
-1, right? It's crazy.
Josh Allen doesn't play another down for the
-14.
Exactly. I mean, Rob brings up a good point. I think that is wholeheartedly true. That is where he has a tough leverage situation.
So Josh Allen, very important to the success of the current Buffalo Bills. A player who is very important to the success of the Super Bowl era Buffalo Bills is Jim Kelly. Didn't know how I was going to get to this. Feel like that transition actually works pretty well. Jim Kelly Charity Golf Tournament was taking place today in Batavia at Terry Hills. Every single year, this event is jammed with golfers. They raise a ton of money for different charities locally here in Western New York that help kids who are disadvantaged or kids who have developmental differences. So a really, really important organization for our community. But it's not just about golf. It's about, of course, all of the fun that they have. And usually one of those guys having a lot of fun at this event is Chris Berman, who I think flies in for it basically every year.
I mean, he's not a regular player, et cetera, but I think even the nation embraces him because, his skills, et cetera, but he's old school in a new school body. He's not overhyped, except when you watch him play. And that's the only way he would want to be overhyped. Like, actually the guy's really good. Yeah, obviously. So, remember last year here, I don't think I'm going to get that question this year. So is the window closing on the Bills? And I went straight face. Geez, maybe I missed something. Is Josh Allen the quarterback? Yeah. Well, then the window's wide open. He's that good. But he's a normal guy. He's embraceable, even if you never meet him. He's just nation will be behind the Bills if they, go where they almost did. But, if somebody's team plays the Bills and Josh Allen, all right, you root for your team. Other than that, I think every neutral fan would root for the Bills and Josh in any game.
All right, so Chris Berman talking about Josh Allen, and he's also talking about the Bills and whether or not their window has closed. Do you want to give me a Thank you.
Got
He's the best. It's like the absolute best. When I hear his voice, all I can think of is the music playing in the background. And
We go to Orchard Park.
yeah, Chris Berman comes to that event every year. I covered it for years and years and years. And going out there, he was such a nice person. And when you're somebody in the industry, it doesn't get much bigger than Chris Berman. You're just in awe of him. So very cool that he was able to have a little conversation today with our Michael Schwartz. So Chris Berman talking about Josh Allen. I want to show you something. I don't know if you've seen this. This has been getting viewed a ton on our social media today. This is a Josh Allen custom-made mailbox in Lancaster. So the address for the house is number 17. So naturally, the people who live at the house were like, we need to make a Josh Allen mailbox. Now, I don't know the story 100%, but it sounds like it's made from a mannequin from Dick's Sporting Goods that was donated. It's 6 feet tall, so it's not quite as tall as Josh Allen actually is. They've got the cutout of the face, and then there's a sensor on it, so if you go by the mailbox, it plays an audio clip of Josh Allen saying, be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But of course, when you see a mailbox like that, you have to talk to the man who made it all happen.
6-foot-tall mannequin donated by Dick, so it worked out great for Josh. There is a face of Josh in there. We got a picture of him that we put right inside the helmet, which looks pretty cool. There's actually a sound box on it, a motion sensor sound box that as you go by, the motion triggers Buffalo Bill sound bites that go off all day long when people walk by. And so many people have stopped, laughed, smiled, waved, beeped, pulled over to take pictures of it. It's been incredible. And I just have to laugh because I love doing it and I love to see people appreciate what I did. For the last 3 months, he's been in a secret project in my basement. I've told nobody about it. None of the neighbors knew. Select family members knew, and that was about it. He came out and saw the sun for the first time Saturday during the Bills preseason home opener, and since then it's been quite a shock to me, the outpouring of support he's been getting.
I will say, if most grown men are telling you they're working on a project involving a mannequin in their basement, they're gonna get some weird looks. But because it's Bills Mafia related, it's totally normal. And because Josh Allen is a hero in this community, it's totally normal in a place. I love it. Bills Mafia never change.
I want to know how many people are now going to that house to just take pictures with the mailbox. And it's got to be insane, right? So
you got to feel so bad if you're the mailman, though. You got to put, you're like, oh, man, AC's been running in this house. Tough National Grid bill going into the mailbox. And you got to hear, be good, do good, God bless. And you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Your bill's going to be high this month.
All right, so that's in Lancaster. Here's the comment from Rob. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. A little ode to Chris Berman. Here's a really fun question from Tom. What 2 players will make the 53-man roster in place of the 2 defensive linemen who will miss the first 6 games? You know what, Tom? You're watching on Facebook. Let's do this. We're going to answer your question during the commercial break. If you have any other questions, obviously, send them our way. And then during the final segment, when we come back on the TV side of things, we will answer all of the remaining questions. So don't go anywhere. You're watching our preseason edition of Leading the Charge. All right, Tom, what 2 players will make the 53-man roster in place of the 2 defensive linemen who will miss the first 6 games?
I feel like this is a great opportunity for Tyrell Shavers to take advantage of it if they choose to make 5 wide receivers again. I think that's the first name because he's just like the hottest.
Well, if they do that, they would be keeping 6 wide receivers theoretically because he's talking about right now. So you've got those 2 guys who you know are going to be on the roster. So Ogunjobi and Hoyt, they're going to definitely be on the roster. You don't have to count them in the beginning. So are you just naturally keeping extra defensive linemen who you wouldn't otherwise? Or do you open up something with a different like Tyrell Shavers, they could probably normally say we would keep 5 wide receivers. But because of this situation, they might go, well, we get a little bit of wiggle room. We'll keep 6 for now, and we'll see how it plays out after 6 weeks when those guys get back there. So I don't think that's a bad answer. I just feel like it's probably a little bit more.
You're going to want depth at that position for sure.
So, like, Javon Solomon, I think, was making the team regardless.
I think he was, too. That's
why Epinesa was making the team regardless.
I'm looking up and down the roster right now, and, like, there's guys. I feel like the defensive line group in general is pretty cut and dry. Like, I think there are clear names, guys who are going to be on this. And there's guys who were not going to be on this.
Dwayne Carter is another name. Like, I think he was going to be on the roster.
I would agree.
But at the same time.
He popped out too, but I'm like, he's on it.
So he was already making it. So the other position is cornerback. They could theoretically keep. They're going to obviously keep Tre'Davious White, Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, Max Hairston, depending on the injury status. I think it comes down to, like, do you keep Jamarcus Ingram and Dane Jackson or just one of the two? So that's where it gets a little bit dicey with that. But I think that, that does open up a probably clearer path for Shavers. We should probably talk about him too. He's been really solid.
Well, it's perfect because we cut up some video because we'll talk about it coming back on the TV side.
You can welcome us back for this one.
All right, I will. All right, welcome back. Leading the Charge preseason edition. Right as we are coming back onto the TV, we're talking to our web chat here on Facebook about Tyrell Shavers.
Yep.
Another interesting camp story just from last year. But this year, I feel like, and we talked about this in our post-Saturday web recap, he has made the best case in terms of like the bubble guys. I think of like when you're watching Hard Knocks in future episodes, like they're going to make a case. Who's the guy who is on the highest prospect on the bubble, who has the best chance of making the team? It is wide receiver Tyrell Shavers. He has flash at camp. He had the biggest play arguably on Saturday. Actually, probably the biggest play. Yeah, 58-yard strike for Mitch Trubisky. He was upset at himself for not scoring a touchdown on that play from Mitch, but it was a good, I would say not perfectly thrown ball, a good thrown ball. Great route by Tyrell Shavers. He's made his case. The wide receiver room, I've said it before, they love him. He has certainly made his case for the 53-man. Yeah. And I think, Matt, he gets it because the question that was posed to us before we went for the break, with Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt not being there, you don't have to count them. Who could take their spots on the 53-man? I think this is a great opportunity for the Bills to keep 6 wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was assuming before training camp started that it would be 5, and the 5 that it would be Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Elijah Moore, and Curtis Samuel. And I said, okay, those are the 5 guys that they probably keep. After watching Tyrell Shavers for the last couple weeks, I feel like he deserves to be in that conversation. Yep. And you could very easily make the argument that he has outplayed both Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel. Certainly Curtis Samuel, because he hasn't been on the field.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Their skill sets are similar, but they also have greater financial commitments to Elijah Moore and especially Curtis Samuel. Somebody had a comment earlier about when is Curtis Samuel. Can you find that comment if you don't mind? Yeah. Somebody said, when is Curtis Samuel going to be back and ready to practice because we need him healthy to trade that anchor of a contract? And I don't think he's going to get traded, but I do think we're going to see him soon. This is a crucial couple weeks for players like Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore, because I do think Tyrell Shavers has pushed them to the brink a little bit. Like, I think that is a player who could absolutely – it's okay if you can't find the comment. Yeah, it was a while ago.
I'm scrolling. Here it is. Hold on. I don't know how to pin it, but it's from Stephen Noble at 742.
Okay.
How close is Samuel to being healthy? Need him to be healthy at the trade that anchor. Right there. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they could just straight up cut Curtis Samuel because the dead cap would be just a really big pill for the Bills to swallow.
And they've already had to swallow a dead cap pill. I don't think now that they've gotten themselves out of it, they're
So I think that Tyrell Shavers makes the team. I think they ultimately keep 6 wide receivers. Is there anybody else who you were impressed with in this preseason game?
Yeah, the 2 rookies that stood out, I really liked what I saw from TJ Sanders and Deion Walker. I think they both had really good days. The TJ Sanders play that I've seen now from like the all 22 angle, that really, we talked about it, but I obviously have a different viewpoint of it on the field. The play where Jackson Dart throws a touchdown, though, Sanders puts deliberate contact right into Jackson Dart as he's released. So credit to him. It was a nice throw. But the move that he pulled to get the inside leverage and attack Jackson Dart in the backfield, I thought was really good. Deion Walker had an early pass breakup, and that size, like the thing that Bean has emphasized so much about this defensive line. Dude just gets his mitts up there, and it's just, you're creating like an 8-foot wall. A quarterback has to try getting it over too. So the rookie-wise, I really like TJ and Deion Walker. I think they both had strong days.
I don't disagree with that. I really liked the game from Joey Bosa. I thought he flashed a lot, and I was quite impressed with what we saw.
And he did it, in 2 series?
That's what I mean. So he played in 2 series. He said he doesn't think he's played in a preseason game in 6 years, which is crazy. But obviously that was the type of caliber of player he was for the majority of the early part of his career. If he can get back to 75% of the player he once was, that's going to give the Bills so much more juice from their defensive line, just because he's a really nice complement to Greg Rousseau.
Perfect.
They were looking for that with Von Miller. They were looking for somebody to take over a game. Then the Von Miller injury happened, and then he was never admittedly that player. There's players behind them that they like. They like A.J. Epinesa. They like Javon Solomon. But I don't think they think those are going to be the guys on a third and got to have a stop situation that are going to be the ones who can get the job done. So it was a really strong outing for Joey Bosa. That was good to see. Now, Mark sent me a comment or a private message, and he said, I wish you talked more about the players that actually played instead of James Cook. Well, we have an entire conversation from the last preseason game available for you on our website and on YouTube, where we talk about just the players that played in the preseason game and what their thoughts were. I mean, here's a comment from Lori. Buffalo Joe, whoop, whoop. We've only got like 45 seconds. He's making the roster. Like, that's not even a question at this point.
Oh, absolutely he is. And you could tell by how much command and how much playing time he actually had to play out there on defense with some of the injuries to Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams. He's made the most of his opportunities.
All right, last one we're going to address from Rob. Will Howard Simon lead the charge, or is he holding out for more pay than you, Matt? You know what? Howard Simon will be back for another season, as will Joe Biscaglia, as will Dom Tibbetts, and then maybe there's a surprise coming our way later down the road. So we are very excited to have Howard come back. I think I got to, take good care of the crew, so we'll talk about Howard and what he gets paid, down the road, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. That's Dom Tibbetts. I'm Matt Bove. Have a lovely rest of your Monday night. We'll see you guys next week.
I could say bye to the stream.
Bye to the stream. 2,300 people. Very much appreciated.
Almost 25.
Almost
right
25. So just, room for progress is kind of what we're building.
You don't want to start peaking in the preseason.
No, that's what I mean. So this is just the learning curve for us. I'm going to hold out on the side. I'm going to hold out until we get to a certain amount of it's business.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
business.
I'm at a 2,000 character limit on my speech at a show. So we hit 1,900. I will hold out at 2,000.
Let's answer this one real quick for Tom, just because he's sticking around here. Is there a surprise player you have seen in camp that you could see making the 53-man roster? We already talked about Tyrell Shavers. Any other potential surprise players you think could make it?
Man, there just isn't enough room. But I really have liked what Christian Wilkerson has done.
Yeah.
I think if there's just more room for the receiver, he'd be there. But it just can't happen. Tyrell Shavers has outplayed him. Laviska Shenault is another interesting one just because of his special team
That's
game.
A good one.
I think Laviska Shenault is going to be somebody who might just get himself on there. I think he looked pretty good in the return game. So he'll be one to kind of keep track of. I'm up and down the roster. I've been looking. The defense feels kind of cut and dry this year. There's some cornerback battles for sure. It's like, is Max healthy? Is Dane Jackson? Jamarcus Ingram, that whole thing. But it's not necessarily a surprise as maybe as somebody else. So I would say like Laviska Shenault would maybe be a surprise.
Let's see. Juan says, hey, guys, calling it now. The steal of this draft is Deion Walker. It could potentially be. I mean, he's absolutely massive. So he
said if that back injury, if he went last year, he's a day one pick.
My answer to Tom's question is like a real deep cut that I don't think is going to make it, but to Corey Couch. The cornerback to Corey Couch. He has just kind of been all over the place and seems to continuously be flashing. It's a position that they're deep at, and I don't think he's going to make it because of that reason, but I do think that he's going to be somebody who's stashed away on the practice squad and also could potentially get some action just because he does bring you a little bit of versatility.
For sure.
And, of course, they love that.
Yep. And then since you're talking about stash guys in the practice squad, Steve Gosnell.
Steve Gosnell.
Steven
Gosnell. All right. Dom Tibbetts, Matt Bove. Shout out to Michelle and Julia in the control room. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Another preseason episode of Leading the Charge. We got to basically 2,400 viewers. So that feels awesome. Pretty good. Hopefully next week we get to 3,000. We appreciate all of you joining us. We appreciate all of the questions, the comments that you had, and we're just getting started. We'll see you guys next week.